refuses to go and that she can't save him. And at one point toward the end of the novel, which you did not read because you listened to the audiobook and you stopped listening because you thought the novel was over. Just kidding, I don't mean to single you out. I know it's okay. But at one point at the end of the novel, she's like, if only I could write this well enough in order to, make my grandfather escape from.
Well, you sound more interesting to what than talking than what I was reading.
Seriously? Seriously. You have to read the book. I heard from numerous people that the audio version just isn't as good as the printed book. And part of it is because the experience of reading this book and of seeing all the different insertions, like there's so many different genres in this book, right? There's the novel that's happening, that's fractured, there's that picture that I showed you, and then once the author appears in the novel, we get like some emails that she exchanges with an editor. We get an application that she writes to, like the Canada Arts Council, she calls it the Commonwealth Arts Foundation, an application. We get all sorts of, we have an author's bio, we have a note on the type. So I feel like holding this book in your hands does make a difference.
Can I just ask something about that, Julia? When she's writing that letter back and forth to that gentleman, I actually felt that she had done that, and that because she named the person, and I almost believed that was his name, and how he answered her back and forth. Because this book is. Do you know the word autofiction? Sort of this blend between autobiography and fiction, and usually in autofiction, it all sounds completely real. Then you don't know which part is fictional and which isn't. So yes, this happened, but I was listening to an interview with Maria Reva, and somebody asked about that precise moment, and she's like, yes, I did have an email exchange with the editor. No, I did not say that. She's like, I wish I had been so bold as to say that. Instead, she channeled all of that in her book. But the exchange she had with the editor was, he was like, why are you writing something humorous? This is about the war. This should be really powerful and kind of heart-wrenching. Why are you talking about memes, about people sitting in the cellar talking about pickling? Like this isn't commensurate with the subject matter. And she was like, well, humor, especially dark humor, that's how people survive. That's how people maintain their humanity. But the emails they exchange here are much more biting than what happened in real life. She actually said in that interview that she wished she had the courage to have kind of told him off the way she did in this book. Like in this book, hold on, it's on page 119. If you have the book, the editor sends her an email and he says, while we enjoyed learning in the essay at hand about your homeland's bottomless arsenal of wartime jokes, and while we also enjoyed reading about the civilian who drowned a military drone in a jar of pickled tomatoes and the many memes of her act of bravery, we worry that the subject matter of your essay does indeed come too soon and fear its tone would not quite fit the sensibilities of our readers. And she responds, and she's like, well, I wonder if maybe part of my essay got lost in the attachment, because what about the part where my uncle's family tries and fails to escape their besieged city, where my family here in Canada are utterly powerless, and sometimes all we can do in the face of an incomprehensible reality is flip through pickle jar memes. Or the part about how normal life churns around us while we're stuck in a deep murk, holding our breath, but we do have to come up for air before descending again. If we don't laugh, we will drown. So she never actually wrote that, but she wishes she did. And she said that this exchange with the editor, like this whole experience, is what made her realize that humor has a place in a wartime novel, because nothing makes sense in wartime. Everything is so completely chaotic, and sometimes the only way people can retain their humanity is through humor. So she also wanted that to bring that into her narrative as well. When you think about this book, it's about war. There's depression here. There's suicide. People are getting People are dying. We see the physical violence of war. We're talking about like the extinction of species, climate change. This all feels very heavy, and yet the book is so funny. The book is so, the way it's written, she's constantly forcing us to laugh at this, and part of that is exactly what she says right here. If we don't laugh, we will drown. So humor is a survival mechanism. But of course, when the war was just starting, these emails were exchanged on March 10th, 2022, people weren't ready for the humor yet. He's like, no, we need, this isn't appropriate for this kind of tragedy. So, yeah, this novel has so many different genres embedded in it. So I'm gonna give you a little bit more background and context for understanding what Maria Reva was trying to do. So she started writing this novel in 2018, so that's like seven years ago now. And the initial spark for the novel came from a story that her sister told her. So her sister is obviously Ukrainian-Canadian. She's a pretty well-known composer, and her sister was on a flight, she was traveling back to Princeton, where she was going to graduate school, and she was talking to this guy sitting next to her on the plane, and when she told him that she was Ukrainian, the guy said, "Oh, I wish I could marry a Ukrainian woman. They are so docile, and Ukrainian women haven't discovered feminism yet, and they're not ambitious, and they're not aggressive like American women." And so Maria Reva's sister told her this story, and Maria was just so angry. Like, what is this perception of Ukrainian women? And so she did a quick Google search, Ukrainian woman, and she started finding all of these how-to manuals about how to go to Ukraine, how to find a Ukrainian woman, because the Ukrainian women are so pure compared to American women, and the Slavic soul is all about pleasing the husband and having babies and just being this perfect icon of femininity. And so what Maria started to notice, what the author started to notice, is that there were two fantasies at play here. The fantasy of what a Ukrainian woman is, that these Western men are hoping to find, and also the reverse fantasy of what it means for a Ukrainian woman to marry a Western man. That coming to the West means that money falls off trees, that, if they marry a Westerner, they're going to end up in New York City, and their life is going to be glitzy and beautiful. So there's these two competing fantasies, neither of which are true at all. And so when she started reading more about the romance tour industry, she also realized that it was a huge thing in Ukraine. The romance agency here is called Romeo Meets Yulia, and they refer to it as a boutique agency. But there were, dozens, hundreds of these romance tour agencies, these kind of mail-order bride agencies in Ukraine up until the war. Now, I don't think they're operational. And so she knew she wanted to write about the romance tour industry, but she didn't want to write a traditional romance tour novel where, the traditional trope. There's been a lot of novels like this written, like Slavic woman marries a Western man, moves abroad, and then some disaster happens. That's not what she wanted to do. Instead, she realized she wanted to do something more than that. She wanted all the participants to have ulterior motives. So Nastya and her sister Saul, who are brides, who work for the romance tour industry, their ulterior motive is they're in it because they want their mother back, right? They decide to kidnap a bunch of bachelors to sort of stage this kind of kidnapping in order for their mother to return to them and to contact them. So they're searching for their mother. Pasha, the guy from Canada who goes on this romance tour, he's in it because he's actually trying to find himself, right? He's dissatisfied with his life in Vancouver. He's a Ukrainian immigrant, and he really believes
that Ukraine is some kind of paradise, and that you know, he'll be able to sort of reconnect with his roots.